So you can look at this chapter 8 of the book of Judges. If you don't know, we are going through a whole series on the book of Judges. The book of Judges, if you're a person like me that loves action movies, that loves crazy stuff, this is the book for you. It is cynical. It is crazy. It is absurd. It's crazy, man. Some of the stories that are in here, I mean, you guys remember some of the stories. This lady just hammers a tent peg into the guy's head and all sorts of stuff going on. Like, what the heck is happening? Well, last week, we were dealing with these Israelites who, they've come out of the promised land. Now they're out of Egypt. Now they're in the promised land, but the promised land isn't so promising, mainly because they weren't fully obedient. And so throughout the past weeks, we've looked at these half obedience is not real obedience. It's not full obedience. It's not what God wants. And a lot of times that's what we offer. God, I'll give you my life. When in reality, you're saying, God, I'll give you my Sunday mornings, but let me have the rest of my week. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So they gave this half obedience to God, and then they went after other gods. The issue was that they didn't stop serving God, and so they didn't see the problem with it. Hey, God, I'm still here worshiping you. And God's like, yeah, but you're worshiping a million other things also. But I'm worshiping you, and God's like, worship me alone. And so they were troubled people, to say the least. Then they fall into the sin cycle, where they're worshiping God, everything is good, and then they fall into sin. The sin enslaves them. They become oppressed. They cry out to God. God sends a deliverer or a judge. That's where we get the name for our book, Judges. And God sends a judge, a deliverer. He rescues them, and then they worship God again. Everything is good until the cycle comes back around again, and we're going through this loop of over and over and over again. And we find ourselves there many times. And so now we get to further in the book, and the further we get into the book, the further that the nation of Israel is just becoming more corrupt, more vile, that the cycle is just, it becomes just over and over the same thing. It's like a broken record, repetitious. And so last week we looked at the worst oppressor to ever come and oppress Israel. And it was the Midianites, the nation of Midian, with the 4 kings that would come and raid the land. Raiders, not just kidding. They would come and raid the land. Man, it's bad news, Raiders. But sorry, side note. I'm not gonna go chase that rabbit. They would come and raid the land. Don't get me started. And so they were the worst oppressors for Israel. Israel was like hiding out, like they would steal their crops. They were chasing them out of their house. It was bad news. It was a bad time. And so what we find this character Gideon hiding out in a hole, trying to make some bread, something that you usually do out in the open, and you know, with the grain and all that stuff. And so we find him hiding out in the hole, and God shows up and he's like, "Hey, what's up, mighty warrior?" And at the time, he was not a mighty warrior. He was afraid. He was insecure. He was like, "Not me. I'm the youngest and weakest man in my family, and my family is the smallest family in my tribe. And my tribe is the weakest tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, which, by the way, is the weakest nation right now because we're being oppressed by Midianites. So you got the wrong number." And God's like, "No, I don't have the wrong number. It's you." And so Gideon, we've looked in the past 2 weeks, he goes through a series of God testing him and pushing him pretty much into like stepping into where God wants him to be. I've gone skydiving a few times, and one of the things that they tell you is, yeah, we're not going to push you out of the plane. If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. The thing is, they lie to you, because when you're up there and when you're at the door, I've seen a lot of people back out, and the person that they're tandem skydiving with, the person that's tied to the back, the instructor is like, too late, just, boom, they go flying out. No one ever regrets it. I haven't seen anyone regret it, but man, it just goes to show sometimes we need that little push. And so God gives Gideon this push and to step into the calling that he has for him. And so he went from being this insecure, afraid man who was hiding, who was oppressed, to being the leader of the Israelites. And he gathers up the army, he gathers up the troops. They're still outnumbered. The enemy has over 135,000. He has about, we looked last week, it was like 35,000, 32,000. And God's like, "You have too many." And he's like, "What? You got too many. If you win with 32,000 versus 135,000, you're going to say you did it." It's kind of hard for me to understand, but and we're going to look at today, they would have said they did it. So God's like, "We need less." So they cut down the army, and now they have about, I believe it was like 12,000 somewhere along there. And God's like, "You still have too many." "What do you mean I have too many, God?" So he cuts down the army to 300 men and Gideon. And they go out to war with no weapons. Ricky brought his shofar last week. We all try to blow it. It's really hard. But apparently these 300 guys could do it. And they go off with their trumpets and their jars that have a torch inside. And so Gideon comes up with this genius plan that the Bible doesn't tell us that God gave to him. God knew that Gideon could come up with it if he would step into the area where God would use him. And so God already knew that about him. That's why he said, you're a mighty warrior, dude. And so you see Gideon coming up with these strategies. And man, the victory was crazy. And they just crushed the enemy's army. Actually, God fights for them. And that's where we left off last week. Everything seems good. Everything seems great and gravy. The 4 kings have escaped. And there's about 15,000 enemy troops still with them. But we're going to pick up the story today. And Gideon is going to be chasing after them. But I'm the failure of success. The failure of success. When I was pretty young. And I've always been a pretty small person. And so when I was younger, I was even smaller, believe it or not. It's true. And my dad bought me my first bike. I still remember it was a mountain bike, and it was huge. I don't know if it was really huge or I just was small, but I think it was really huge and I was really small. And so I remember it had training wheels on it, and my dad would like push me up and down the street, and I was learning how to ride it. All the neighbors were out there riding their bikes, and they had no training wheels, and the dads weren't holding their bikes, so I wanted to do that. And so I told my dad to take the training wheels off, and he was like, I don't think you're ready to do it. And he's like, I'll just lift them higher, so like if you start falling, they'll be there. Like, no, take the training wheels off. So my dad took the training wheels off. I don't know why he listened to me, but he took the training wheels off. And so he would push me up and down the street, and I would get to a point where I'd be like, I got it. And I'd be like, all right. And I didn't got it. Like, I would just scrape it and eat it, and I became the laughing stock of my street because the bike was too big for me to get off like the normal way. I couldn't stop and just climb off. So what would happen is when I finally learned to ride it, I would come just rushing into the property or into somebody's house and jump off the bike, and the bike would go flying and I would go flying. And so everybody would know that's how it gets off. So the next time true story, the next time a kid would fall on their bike, they'd be like, oh, that's how David gets off. Like, I became a joke. The thing is, I thought I was ready. I wanted to be ready, and God's like, I don't think you're ready yet, man. And so when I would find myself in the dirt, scraped it up, I'd be like, Dad, why didn't you help me? Dad, put the training wheels back on, right? That leads me to our dilemma for this morning. When things are going bad, it's easy to run to God. But when things are going great, it is easy to run on our own. And how many times don't we experience that where maybe some of you guys even this morning are here because not everything is so good in your life. Maybe some of you guys started coming to church because things weren't going great. Somebody got sick, you lost a job, something bad happened, and so now here I am, God, I need you to fix my problem. Now that's not a bad thing. Where else are we going to go but to God? So that's good, and I don't want to discourage you from doing that. But I do want to point out that it's easy to do that. It's easy to look for help when we're in trouble. But what happens when God is blessing you? Or what happens when there's peace? What happens when you have prosperity, your bank account is good, and your health is great, and your friends are amazing, and everything is going just the way you want it to? Do we remember God? It reminds me of this passage in the book of Hosea where God tells the people, hey, I fed you, and you were full, and you worshiped me. You were hungry, and you worshiped me, so I fed you. And when you were full, you forgot about me. And so it goes to show, man, we're good at being there with God, walking with God when we need God. But the moment we feel we don't need Him, we're like, hey, God, take the training wheels off and stop pushing me. I'll catch you on the other side. And so things go bad, it's easy to run to God. But when things are going great, not so easy. And it's a little bit easier to run on our own. And it's our nature and our tendency to want to do things our way and run on our own. I'll give you guys a little background already of what Gideon was, and a cowardly, insecure man, the Midianites oppressing them. Usually the story, as we've looked through the book of Judges, ends there. When the deliverer saves the nation, the story will end there and it'll say, they had peace for so many years, and then we'll get into the next chapter where it'll be like, and then Israel again did what was evil in the Lord's sight. But that's not the case with the story of Gideon. We get to the end of the story, or so it seems, where Gideon has saved or delivered Israel, and the story actually keeps on going. Because usually what happened up to this point was that the people would worship God once more when He delivered them, and once that person, that judge died, they would again turn away from God. What we see happening right here, though, is that Gideon isn't even dead. The deliverance isn't even complete because they haven't even got the 4 kings. They got the army. The kings got away with 15,000 troops. So they haven't even finished the victory, and the people already start to turn away. And so we're going to dedicate this next chapter to this failure of success that many times is real in our lives. when we start to be successful, that's really a moment of failure for us rather than a moment of victory. And so it's different. The backsliding of the nation begins before the leader dies, and actually the backsliding of the leader himself is also evidence. And so it goes to show, we said last week, all of you guys are leaders in some way. All of you guys have some influence. It might be kids, it might be siblings, it might be at work, maybe people follow you on social media, but we're all leaders in some way. We're all called to lead. Follow Jesus and tell people, follow me as I follow Jesus. But the way that you live, the way that you lead, the way that you carry out your life is going to speak volumes to the people that are behind you, the people that are watching. The Bible says in the book of Hebrews chapter 12 that we have a great cloud of witnesses. We're on TV in a way, right? People are watching it. Reality TV, it's real. And so we need to be aware of how we live our life. We need to be aware not only in the moments of defeat when it's easy to run to God, but in the moments of success when people are watching you. Why is he so blessed? Why is he doing so good? Why is their life so great? And people are watching what you're doing because they want what you have. And if you're walking down the wrong path, you're leading people down the wrong path. And Gideon started to lead his life in a way that wasn't right, and the nation followed in a way that wasn't right. And we'll see that in a little bit. So here's a breakdown. We pick up our story in chapter 8 of Judges. I'm going to give you guys a breakdown of the whole story, and then we're going to pick apart a few things that actually apply to us, because you're going to be like, how the heck is this relevant to me today? It is relevant, and we're going to look at it. So we picked up last week the story. They got the victory. There's a small crowd of the enemy's army that got away, and that's where we're going to pick up. Gideon is chasing after them. So pick up, imagine you're turning on the TV, the movie's starting, it's a Wild West scene. There's the cowboys running after the bad guys, and they're just riding through the desert, and this is where we're at. And it says that Gideon was traveling to chase them, and another tribe of Israel, the men of Ephraim, one of the biggest, strongest tribes of Israel, came to Gideon, and they were like, hey, Gideon, why didn't you call us into battle with you? Instead of saying, hey, Gideon, good job, man. This nation has been oppressing us for 8 years, and now you finally saved us. What they say is, why didn't you call us into battle with you, dude? See, Ephraim is mad that the tribe of Ephraim is mad that they didn't get the glory, that they didn't get to take part in the victory, that they can't take the credit for what happened. So God was right when he said, hey, if I send you with 30-something troops, you're going to boast on yourselves. If I send you even with 12,000 troops, you're going to start boasting about yourself. So I'm going to send you with the bare minimum and no weapons so that nobody can say I did it, but you will look and say God had to do this. There is no other way. But the tribe of Ephraim is angry and it's mad. And Gideon does something amazing. Here he comes into his mighty warrior, he puts his mighty warrior hat again, and he puts on a hat of diplomacy. He answers them in a very smart way, and he pretty much tells them this, hey, you guys, because remember, Gideon went with 300 men, and they scared the army and started killing each other. Some of the army ran away, and so some of the other tribes came and they intercepted and they finished off the victory. Well, Ephraim was some of those tribes that they finished off that victory, and they captured 2 of the 4 kings. And so Gideon responds, hey, I didn't really do much compared to what you guys did. You guys did awesome. You captured 2 of the kings, man. Good job. What did I do compared to what you did? And in the tribe of Ephraim, they're so proud and so arrogant and so self-centered that this works. They're like, no, you're right. We are so good. And he tells them in verse 2, so he said to them, what have I done now compared to you? Nothing, right? You guys are the ones that should get the credit. You guys are the ones that did awesome. Now I want to tell you something we're gonna see in a little bit. It seems like Gideon is being very wise. It seems like Gideon is being obedient to God, and man, godly answer, dude. Awesome. In reality, Gideon has another agenda, and we'll see in a little bit. If Gideon could oppress Ephraim, he would. If Gideon was more powerful than the tribe of Ephraim, he would be like, I just saved you fools. You do not talk to your leader that way. But because they're stronger, he doesn't say anything. He's kind of like, nah, you guys are cool. And I'm going to prove that to you in a little bit, because Gideon is already going down a bad road, a down path. And so Gideon clearly responds with diplomacy to calm them down. What I did is not compared to what you did. 2 kings you caught already, man. I'm going after the other 2, but you only got 2. And then the story goes on to say that Gideon is pursuing these 2 other kings. And it says in verse 4 like this. Gideon and the 300 men came to the Jordan and crossed it. That's the river. They were exhausted but still in pursuit. There's a whole sermon right there. They're exhausted but still in pursuit. Don't give up. They're still going. However, we're going to see as this unfolds that Gideon's purpose for chasing them was not because godly obedience was dominating his thought process right now, although that would have been good. But the reason why he's so relentless is a little more selfish than what it seems. And so Gideon is chasing these two kings. His men are hungry, his men are tired, and he stops by this town named Sukkot. And he tells the men of Sukkot, still in Israelite territory, he tells, hey guys, could you guys give us something to eat because we're tired and we're chasing after the two Midianite kings that are left? And Sukkot says, do you have them yet? Gideon's like, what? Yeah, do you have those two kings yet? Did you capture them yet? No, we're on our way, we're tired, we need get refreshed and replenished. He's like, we're not going to give you guys anything because you haven't caught them yet. What if they come back? What if you go and you lose and then they come back and they squash us because we helped you? You ain't getting no help here. So Gideon gets mad and he's like, you know what? I'm going to punish you guys with thorns and briars and you guys are going to regret not helping me. You'll see. And he goes on to the next town, the town of Penuel, and he tells them the same thing. Hey, we're tired, we need food. And the town of Penuel tells them the same thing. You don't have them yet. You don't have the victory yet. We're not going to help you. What if this turns bad against us? And so Gideon, instead of saying, Gideon could have said this, hey guys, I know it seems impossible. I got 300 guys. They still got 13,000 men, two kings that have been present for a long time. But man, would you check out what God just finished doing with these 300 guys? Would you check out what the victory that God did? We didn't have no part in that. You can trust us because we're doing God's work. God has promised the victory to us. Trust us. But that's not what Gideon said. Gideon said something more along the lines, oh, you don't respect me? Oh, you're going to find out. You'll see. You don't know who you're talking to. And so he becomes angry and they decline helping him because they're afraid of the Midianite oppression. And so instead of saying, hey, I know it's hard to believe, but we can do this, just trust us, he says, I'm going to show you guys. You're going to respect me. And he goes on to say that Gideon and his 300 men actually capture the two remaining kings. And he comes up with this genius plan again. God had already equipped him to be a mighty warrior. So when God was like, hey, mighty warrior, even though Gideon didn't know it, God knew it. So you see this play out throughout the story. Gideon comes up with a strategy to capture, with his 300 men, the two kings that are left and reroute the army of 15,000, 300 versus 15,000, and he wins. He is a mighty warrior. He is amazing. And so it says in verse 12 like this. Zebah and Zalmunna, the two Midianite kings that are left, fled, and he pursued them. He captured these two kings of Midian and routed the entire army. Good job, Gideon. You're doing good. You are a mighty warrior. You're on the right track, right? Maybe not so much. He goes back right after capturing the two kings to the two cities that didn't help him. That, by the way, are his own people, Israelites. And he says, you guys remember when you didn't help me? Now I'm going to punish you. And it says in verse 16 and 17, so he took the elders of the city, and he took some thorns and briars from the wilderness, and he disciplined the men of Sukkot with them. He also tore down the tower of Penuel and killed the men of the city. Turns against his own people. Are you guys going to believe in me? Now my name will be known. You will respect me. The battle isn't even done, and it already got to his head. You ever work for someone who, like, they get made assistant manager, and like they start acting like, man, dude, you act like you own the place. We're the same. You just got a fancy shiny badge. That's it. That's what's happening to Gideon here. He let the power get to his head, and he forgot who it is that gave him the victory. And so we begin to see this failure through the success that he's having. And so he goes back and he punishes the cities, his own people. And so he then turns on to the kings. He starts to interrogate these two Midianite kings, and he tells them, hey, the men that you killed back there, what did they look like? And he finds out that the men that these two kings killed were actually his family, his brothers, his cousins, his family. They killed his family. And so we see here Gideon's purpose in chasing them. It wasn't so much for obedience of God. The reason why he was so relentless and wouldn't give up is because he was holding a grudge, because he had a personal vendetta against him. It was vengeance that was driving him. You ever think about how far you can go when you're angry at someone? How much you can do, how long you can keep a grudge, how long you can be angry at someone, how long you can hold resentment. Man, we're pretty capable people. If we would only use it for good. But we see Gideon, instead of pursuing for obedience, he's pursuing for vendetta and for vengeance, because we now realize, and we learned what Gideon knew, but we didn't know up to this point, that they killed his family. And that's what's been pushing him all along. And so what does he do? He tells his son, hey, kill them, because he wants the kings to be humiliated. However, his son is much like his dad. His son is scared, and he's like, I can't kill him. I'm afraid. And the kings are like, do it yourself, fool. Are you scared? So Gideon kills them. And he finishes off the two kings. It goes on to say that in verse 22, like this. Then the Israelites said to Gideon, rule over us, you as well as your sons and your grandsons, for you delivered us from the power of Midian. Pretty much they're asking him to be king. Hey Gideon, you did a pretty good job. You saved us. How about you be our king? And people are forgetting, like, God sends judges to deliver you and to guide you. God doesn't need to give you a king. The people want a king when what they really need to do is serve the king that they already have. See, they want a king so that they can obey this king, but what they're not doing is obeying the king they already have, and so they're saying, Gideon, be our king. And Gideon, again, seems like he starts to get it. He seems like he has his head on, but it's kind of like this two-minded, two-hearted sort of thing going on. And Gideon says, I can't be your king because God is your king. Good job, Gideon. You're back on track again, right? Not so much. He declines to be king, but then he starts acting like a king. It goes on to say in verse 23 and 24, but Gideon said to them, I will not rule over you, and my son will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you. That's the Christian answer. How many times, Christians, you've been in the church for a while, I'm talking to you right now, how many times don't you give the Christian answer? I'm going to pray for you. That's the biggest lie. How many times have we said that and we don't pray for people? Or we're so quick, hey, how are you doing? I'm blessed. We're good to give the Christian answer, but does your life and your actions back up what your mouth says? And so Gideon gives the Christian answer. Hey, I'm not going to be your king. God is going to be your king. And then right immediately after that, he starts acting like a king. He says, then he said to them, let me make a request of you. Like, in the same conversation, I won't be your king. But how about you guys all offer me some treasure? I won. How about you guys pay me? How about I take a tax off of you guys? Then he said to everyone, give me an earring from his plunder. Now the enemy had gold earrings because they were Ishmaelites. And so he starts to take a collection pretty much of the spoils of war. Something kings would do. I won't be your king, but then he starts acting like a king. Now with the gold and all the goodies that he got, the bracelets, all that stuff, he decides to make an ephod and set it up at his home. Now how many of you guys know what an ephod is? Because we're going to have to pause here for a second. Let me backtrack a little bit. A little while back, a few books ago, God said, hey, I'm going to be with my people, Israel. I choose you, and I'm going to be close to you guys, and you guys are going to be with me. We're going to have a close relationship. We're going to have an encounter. However, you guys are sinful. Keep in mind, this is before Jesus came along. You guys are sinful. And if I just showed up in your midst, you guys would not be able to handle my presence. You would die. Right? Even one time when God was talking to Moses in the mountain, the Israelites heard him, and it says that his voice was like thunder and lightning, and they were scared, and they told Moses, tell him to talk to you, don't talk to us. Like, his presence was crazy, and his presence would consume any sin. So God's like, I want to be with you guys, but there's sin in the way. And so here's what we're going to do. Build this tabernacle, which is like a big tent, and in this tabernacle, there's going to be this place called the Holy Place. In there, the priests are going to come, and they're going to have this. All these things are going to symbolize my relationship with you. The bread's going to be the bread of life, all this kind of stuff, right? But beyond that, all the priests could go in there. Now, not all the Israelites are priests. There's only one tribe out of the 12 tribes that they're called to be priests. And so the priests get to work in the tabernacle. Eventually, it would be the temple, but right now they're still roaming around, so it's the tabernacle. It's this tent. And beyond that holy place is what they call the Holy of Holies. There was this thick curtain, this thick veil. When Jesus died on the cross and he made a way, it's what the Bible says, that he tore the veil. And that division between the Holy of Holies and the people was ripped apart. And now we have full access into the Holy of Holies. But not here. Right now, the Holy of Holies could only be entered by one man, and that's the high priest. Once a year, only once a year, one man, the high priest, would enter the Holy of Holies, and he would. And there was the Ark of the Covenant. You've seen it on Indiana Jones, maybe something like that. The Ark of the Covenant was there, and he would talk and plead with God on behalf of the people, so that God would forgive the people's sins. And so this would happen once a year, and it was an amazing thing. Now, this high priest, he had special clothes that he had to wear. It was a sign by God. This is how you should dress, and blah blah blah. Everything had a symbol. Everything was pointing towards something else. Actually, the Bible tells us in the book of Hebrews that the tabernacle was a shadow of heaven. It's pretty crazy. Do a little study on that one. And so the priest, one of the garments that he had was this vest. Not this vest, obviously, but a vest. So I'm going to put this on. That's mine. Just kind of show you. This is mine. You can, no, it's borrow it. No, I'm going to take you. I don't know if it's anymore. I might let you have it. Hashtag marriage. Man. All right. And so the priest would put on this vest. It's called an ephod. And this vest had all these kind of jewels and gems all over it. It was an amazing thing. And they had these two little pockets in the front. these aren't real pockets. I just found this out. I've had this vest for years.
Excellent.
It had these 2 little pockets, and inside those pockets were 2 stones. I forget the names, the Thummim and the, I'm going to butcher these names right here. It had 2 little stones inside of them. Let me find this because I don't want to say something. The Urim and the Thummim. I'm probably butchering the names. But these 2 little stones were how the Israelites found out what God's will was. Picture like dice. They had dice, and so they would say, or a coin. They had coins. And so they would say, hey, God, would you want us to do this or do that? And so the high priest would go before God, and he would ask God, and he'd take out the 2 stones, and God, you give us your answer to this. And then they would, let's say like they would flip the coins, and God would answer through that. That's how they find out God's will. Now, who wears that vest? Who wears that ephod?
High priest.
The high priest. How many high priests are there? 1. 1 for the whole nation, right? And he represents Jesus that is to come. One for the whole nation. Now, what Gideon just did was make his own ephod. At this point, the tabernacle is in the city of Shiloh. But what Gideon does is he makes his own ephod and he sets it up in his hometown. Basically, what he just did was he set up a rival place of worship. Hey, I know the tabernacle is over there, and I know the ephod is over there, and I know we go over there to seek God's will and God's presence, and we worship there, but I'm going to do it in my house. And you know what the nation of Israel did? They're like, how could you do that, Gideon? No. That's not what they did. They went after what their leader did. And they went after what Gideon was doing, and so they start to worship the ephod that Gideon had made. Which, by the way, he made from all the gold he took from them. And so, with all the goodies, he makes this ephod and he sets it right at his home. And by making his own copy, he's setting up a rival place of worship. It says in verse 27, Gideon made an ephod from all this and put it in Ophrah, that's his hometown. Then all Israel prostituted themselves with it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and his household. I love it when the Bible uses strong language. A lot of times as preachers nowadays, we try to soften it up. We shouldn't. Because that's what God meant. Hey, I have a place of worship. You guys shouldn't even be allowed in my presence. But I'm going to make a way. And it's going to be here, and you're going to worship me the way I'm going to be worshipped. And I set the rules. Gideon sets up his own rules, his own place of worship. They're not really worshiping God. They're worshiping themselves. They're worshiping the ephod. They're worshiping Gideon. They're worshiping their own success, not God who delivered them. And God says, what you're doing is you're going around and prostituting yourself. You're whoring yourself. As a nation. What if you're in a relationship and your better half told you, man, you're such a whore. You're a prostitute. The way that you treat me, this is what the Bible says. And you treat me like a slut. That's the way you're acting. What if somebody told you that? What if my wife told me that? I told my wife that. And God, it's kind of funny because we don't want to view things that way, but that's what the Bible says, and over when God's dealing with his people. And God says, look, we were meant to have a relationship that is close and personal, an encounter that is unlike no other. But what you're doing, what you're supposed to have with me, you're having with everything else. At some point, we got to stop, and we got to make this a little personal. At some point, the giggles have to stop, and at some point, we have to think, God, is this me? Have I been prostituting myself with everything and anything else other than you? And Gideon started off good, but the success has got to him, and he's found failure through it. And so the whole nation goes after him, and it says they prostituted themselves with it there, and it became a snare, a trap to Gideon and his household. You know, the things that you set up for yourself. You think they're going to save you? You think they're going to give you hope and peace? Many times those are the same things that tear us down. People spend their entire lives pursuing a career and forget about their family. And they spend their entire life pursuing money and they forget about everything else, only to find out in the end that money can't fulfill them. And whatever your ephod might be, whatever your place of worship you might have set up, whatever it is you might be pursuing, I guarantee you this. You might think you have it together right now. You might think you're being successful with that right now. But eventually you will reach a point where you will realize this isn't fulfilling me at all. These friendships who I was putting all my chips on, they turned on me. This escape which I had in substances or whatever it might be, the psychology which I put all my chips on and I put all my trust on, nothing will fulfill you in the end. And that ephod, which was the culmination of Gideon's arrogance and pride, and he made it when he was at the highest point in his life. I've achieved everything. I'm so awesome. I'm so great. Here's the proof of it. In the end, that was a snare and a trap to him and his family. He also went on to have many kids, probably with many wives. One wife would have, there was a lot of kids to have. It says in verse 30, Gideon had 70 sons. I mean, probably was not the same lady. That would have been amazingly crazy if it was. So Gideon has 70 sons of his own. It says in verse 30. And his concubine, so his concubine is like his wife, but she's not good enough to be his wife because she's not an Israelite, so they don't consider her like fully wife. So that's like his half-wife, his concubine. So he has 70 sons and one with his concubine. And the one that he has with his concubine, he names him Abimelech. That's important because next week we're going to talk about Abimelech. And Abimelech means, remember the Hebrew names are important, they always mean something. What do you think Abimelech means? My dad is king. Abimelech means my dad is king. So Gideon says to Israel, I'm not going to be your king, God is your king. Starts acting like a king, has a kid, names him, my dad is king. Sometimes we're really good at speaking the right things, but we're not so good at living out the right things. So you hear the saying, don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. How many of us aren't guilty of, we say all the good things, we say all the right things, we have all the right answers, we have it together on the outside, and God looks at the inside and says, you're all messed up, man. So remember his name for next week. Finally, Gideon goes and dies, and the people turn away from God. Actually, they've already been turning away from God before he even died. It says in verse 33, like this. When Gideon died, the Israelites turned and prostituted themselves with the Baals and made Baal-berith their god. Which, ironically, Baal-berith means, Baal was like, it could have been many gods, right? And so they make the God of the covenant, the God of the promise, Baal-berith, this other false God of the promise. It's ironic because God had made him a promise long ago. I will give you a promised land. I will bless you if you're obedient to me. And they neglected that, and they want to choose a false God. The God of what promise, what covenant? I don't know. But it's not God. And they go and it says, Gideon died, the Israelites turned and prostituted, there's that word again, themselves, with the Baals and made Baal-berith their God. The Israelites did not remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them from the power of the enemies around them. I want you to just soak that verse in there. The enemy wasn't just a light enemy. You see, when we're out of the problem, it's easy to look back and think, I wasn't so bad. But when you're in the pain, when you're in the problem, it is powerful. It is crushing. And it says that God saved them from the power of the enemies around them. However, they forgot about that because it doesn't hurt right now. They forgot about that because they're good right now. Nobody's coming after them right now. They forgot about that because everything is going great with their family, because their work is going fine, because they have their life together. So they forgot what it's like to be pursued by a strong and powerful enemy. And they forgot what it's like to be saved by a stronger God from a powerful enemy. It says in verse 35, they did not show kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, for all the good that he had done for Israel. In the end, Gideon wasn't even held with the respect that he wanted. In the end, Gideon didn't even achieve what he pursued so much, the respect of people and the acceptance of the people. Look, if you live, and somebody, I don't know who somebody said, if you live for people's acceptance, you will, I think it was Lecrae actually, you will die from their rejection. Something like that. Christian rapper. They forgot God. So what can we possibly get from this crazy story from a book thousands and thousands and thousands of years away from us, with a man who is very unlike us? Not at all, right? It turned out that Gideon's success was one of the worst things that happened to him. See, back in chapter 7, verse 15, he was aware of his weakness. Remember, God was like, hey, if you still don't believe, go to the enemy's army, and you're going to hear them talking about this dream that I gave them. And Gideon goes, and he sneaks over there, and he hears them talking about this crazy dream where this bread destroys his tent, and what does that even mean? But then the other guy tells him, yeah, that definitely has to be that God gave Gideon the victory. Yeah, that's what it means. Well, Gideon is encouraged by that. And the Bible says in chapter 7, verse 15, that he worships God. That's the last time you see Gideon doing that. As soon as he starts being successful, he forgets God. See, his victory was his demise. So how does the history of Gideon in a place and time far, far away apply to us today? You guys remember the dilemma that we presented in the beginning? When things are going bad, it's easy to turn to God, and it's easy to run to God, and it's easy to run with God. But when things are going great, it's easy to run on our own. And it leads me to saying the first thing here. We need to remember that we are saved by grace when we fail. But we need to remember it even more when we succeed. You see, when we mess up, we have to remember that God has forgiven you for no matter what you've done. You cannot go out of God's reach. I don't care how much you've messed up. I don't care how much bondage you have. I don't care how horrible of a person you think you are. God will reach you, and He can reach you, and He is powerful to save. Remember that when you fail. But maybe just as much, or even more importantly, remember it when you don't fail. When you're being really good. When you think you have it together, when you're achieving great things, and you're being very successful in your personal life, and in your love life, and in your work life, and in every other life, your social life, everything is going great. Remember also that it is God who is graciously saving you, and pushing you, and blessing you. You see, on his rise to the top, Gideon forgot who was carrying him there. Just like me on that bike, I'm like, Dad, let go of the bike already. Let me go. And I forgot he's the one holding me up. This bike weighs 3 times as much as I do. Probably more. I can't do it on my own. And on the way to the top, Gideon forgot that it was God's hand that was lifting him up. And we often forget as well. It can be easy to forget about God when we think that we don't need Him right now. See, nobody probably in this room will say, I don't need God. Probably. I might get surprised, but I'm almost sure that no one in this room would say, no, I don't need God. But we all would say, at least to ourselves, I don't need God right now. I got it right now, God. Come back later. Come back when I call you. And Gideon forgot this. See, Gideon ended up using God to get his position instead of using his position to be used by God. You get that? Gideon used God to get the position he wanted in life instead of using the position that he had in life to be used by God. Maybe you're here today because you want God to bless you. I'm just glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. And I hope God speaks to you in a way that even my words can't, that His Spirit speaks to you. But maybe the reason why you came is because you just want a blessing. The reason why you came is because you just need a miracle. The reason you came is because you need something from God. And that's the only reason you're here. I think God will bless you with more than just that, but many times that's the only reason we get close to God. Many times that's the only reason we're still in church. We only pursue God because we want to get something out of Him. Gavin said this past Friday, He's not a genie in a bottle. You just ask, just give me. And instead of using God to get what we want, how about we use what we have already to be used by God? Man, you're going to watch Him bless you in crazy ways. Ways you can't imagine. There's blessings that I enjoy now that back then I didn't even view as blessings. So your focus will change. But remember that you're saved by grace when you fall. But even more, remember that when you succeed. Gideon didn't remember that. The next thing is this. Don't let the way others view you cloud the way you view God. Do not let the way that other people see you get in the way of how you see God. In his weakness, Gideon trusted God. And God called him a mighty warrior. And Gideon focused on God, he believed God, but when Gideon became victorious and the people started asking him, hey, be our king, he says, hey, yeah, God is your king, but then he starts acting like a king. He says, God is your king, and then what he's saying with his actions is, I'm your king. Now, don't let the way that other people view you, whether it's a negative way, people will call you ugly, or you're nothing, or you're worthless, or blah, 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 and then tear you down. Don't let the way that they view you obscure the way that God views you and that you view God. But on the other side of that coin, don't let the praise get to you either. Don't let their flattery get to you either. See, Gideon's demise wasn't so much that people said, you're not going to be able to do it, dude. That's impossible. Gideon's demise was that people said, hey, you did it. High five. There's nothing wrong with people congratulating you and lifting you up, but what do you do with that? One of the things that when I started preaching that my pastor told me a long time ago, he said, anytime someone gives you praise or credit for whatever you do, whether it's a message or something you do, never hold it. Not even for a second. Find a phrase, find a word, something that you will be able to bounce it and slap it right off. Like a mosquito. So people come up to me sometimes and say, hey man, great message. Glory to God. And I'll be like, oh man, good job. Oh, praise to God. And sometimes people go, no, I know that, but you did a good job. I cannot hold on to that. You know why? Because right now I don't feel so weak. Right now I don't feel so proud. I feel pretty humble. But maybe I'll be sitting at home later this afternoon and I'll be like, I did do a pretty good job. Yeah. And it's not me. I'm not qualified to be here. I'm not qualified to tell you anything. Why are you listening to me? We've been sitting here for 20, 30 minutes. But you know what? It's coming. And anytime you hold on to any of that glory, anytime you hold on to any of that credit, that's a dangerous thing. You see, here's the beautiful thing about this. When we give all the credit and all the glory to God, God will lift us up. What does the Bible say over and over? If you humble yourself, He will exalt you. When we don't want to be exalted later. We want to be exalted now. So we'll exalt ourselves now. Jesus said about the Pharisees, they already received their reward. But those who humble themselves, oh, you wait and see. You give somebody a cup of water, God's going to give you a crown. What? How's that add up? The way that God will bless you and credit you and lift you up cannot compare to whatever credit or glory you can give yourself. And so don't let the way that other people view you cloud the way that you view God. Gideon had head knowledge, but he didn't have heart devotion. He didn't have heart devotion. See, he failed to live out what he already knew up here. He failed to live the life that he knew he should have. So let me ask you, do you care more about what people say of you, or do you care more about what God says of you? Gideon forgot how strong God was because he focused on how strong people said he was. So if you focus on you and how good people say you are, how much you've achieved, you're going to forget how much God has actually done for you and how much God is actually doing for you and through you. Next thing is this. Just because nothing seems wrong doesn't mean everything is right. Just because your life is going good right now, there's no problems, nobody's sick, everything's going together, doesn't mean that we shouldn't stop and ask ourselves, God, are you cool with everything? Are we straight? Is there anything in my life that's not right? See, King David said in the Psalms, God, examine my heart, and look, if there's anything in me that I don't even know about, let me know about it. That's how messed up I am. But we tend to think if everything is going good, God should be pleased. Many times that's the enemy's lie. See, they had 40 years of peace. Remember that? It says in verse 28. It says, so Midian was subdued before the Israelites, and they were no longer a threat. Awesome. The land was peaceful 40 years during the days of Gideon. Seems like everything is great. But it's only a few verses later that we learn that they prostituted themselves, that they forgot what God did for them, that they forgot what Gideon did for them. Were they in a good state? No. It was a false peace, a peace without worship, a peace without obedience. Let me tell you this, the enemy can give you peace. False peace. One of the things that I find the most fascinating are clouds. And one of the most crazy forms of clouds is in hurricanes. That space satellite picture of a hurricane. You see all these clouds in a swirl. Now, if you don't know, you probably know because you're probably smarter than I am. But the way that a hurricane comes through is you'll get this wind and this rain and the storm will just mess everything up. Oh, snaps, my hair, right? Everything's ruined. And then calm, clear skies. Everything's peaceful. And you're like, man, you know, outside, clean up the yard, whatever it is. And then the storm comes back and you're like, what happened? You were in the eye of the storm. You weren't out of the storm. You were in the middle of it. You were in the most dangerous part of it because now you're surrounded by the storm. See, Satan can't give you peace. And Satan will make you seem like everything is right. The Bible says there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. He masquerades as an angel of light, but he's no angel of light. And so they thought everything was good. Beware of the storm. Don't take God's silence for God's absence. Just because God didn't say anything doesn't mean he's okay with your situation. You know what? One of the things I've learned is that if Melanie's not telling me anything, something's wrong. Right? I used to think when I got married, if she's not telling me anything, everything is cool. Hey babe, is there anything wrong? No. Good, I'm doing a good job. I'm being a great husband. Now I know. If I say, babe, is there anything wrong? She says, no. Oh, I'm already in it. I'm already in it worse than I know. Right? And sometimes we're like, God, is there anything? We don't even ask God. We just assume everything is right. Because he's silent, because he's quiet. But he is not absent. It could be that he's being patient. See, they didn't realize that God was not pleased because they never cared to ask for his opinion. So never knew it. They assumed. And we'll see next week that this story isn't yet over. The son of Abimelech that Gideon has will continue to be a snare to Israel. Will continue to be a domestic oppressor to the own nation. But here's my main point for this week, and here's what I want us to remember out of Gideon's failure of success. And here's what we can walk away with. The real success of success is to trust God in our success with our success. That makes sense? The real success of success is to trust God in our success with our success. Oh, you guys still aren't getting it. It's on the screen, guys. One more time, just for Tommy. The real success of success is to trust God in our success with our success. Let me put it this way. Don't lose sight by what God does through you and for you, only to focus on you. See, we think we're achieving, we think we're being successful, we think we're doing, and it's really God working in us, it's really God working through us, and we focus on us instead of focusing on the God working through us. So don't lose sight of God working in and through you by focusing on you. The real success of success is to trust God in our success with our success. God, I give you the credit. God, I give you the glory. It's God who's doing this. Man, how do you do that? God. We just got a house better than I ever imagined. People are like, man, you guys did it. Oh, it's because you guys work 2 jobs, huh? You got a job, she has a job, you guys are doing good, you can make good money, you're working in the Bay Area. No, it has nothing to do with that. God blessed us. I didn't even want that house. I didn't even want to go see that house. God blessed us. Man, you guys started a church. This is awesome, man. But you guys got it together, bro. No. It's all God. I don't even know what we're doing. We got a meeting later to figure out what we're doing. It's not what we're doing. It's all God. You know, at work, I've been blessed to be viewed as a valuable employee, and I get to train people, and the bosses come and ask me for advice because of the experience that I have in the field. And people are like, oh yeah, new people come and they're like, oh yeah, you're that one guy, huh? You're the one. I'm overrated, dude. I am. I'm just like anybody else. Look at the numbers. Like I'm overrated. The white people, it's God's grace. Give God the glory for the success. The real success of success is to trust God in our success with our success. If to you the real success of success is success, that's it. I know, that was a hard one. Huh? Try saying that 3 times. If to you success is just achieving, you already got your reward. But if you can take that success and with that success glorify God and give it back to God, you know, the Bible says that we're going to get crowns of life. We're going to get crazy blessings. And then it says in the book of Revelations that the people were coming to God's throne and laying down their crowns at his feet. Oh, I want to be successful. I want God to bless me. But the reason I want to be successful and I want God to bless me and I want people to look at, man, how is that been so blessed? Is so that I can turn around and give it right back to God. So that I have more to give to God. You should try to live a successful life. You should strive to do good. But focus on God. See, here's a challenge. Strive to do and achieve greatness through God, so that you can return the credit back to God. We should strive to be successful. We should strive to achieve much. We should try to do great things in life so that we have even more to offer back to God. This week, here's a challenge. Here's how we can walk away and take Gideon's life and Gideon's mistakes and put it in 2017. When someone lifts you up, when someone gives you credit, when someone says, good job, pal, when somebody says, hey, amazing, nobody else could have done it like you, when somebody gives you glory and honor, you turn that right back to God. It's all God. What? You flip the burger. It's all God. You give me hands. You give me the flicking of wrist. It's not me. It's all God. Give God the credit. Give God, because you know what? It's His. He gave you the breath in your lungs. He gave you the mobility. He gave you the mind. He gave you the ability to be able to live. It's His. It's His. We're His. Give God the credit. And you know what? You're going to find a lot more fulfillment in throwing the credit right back to God than keeping it for yourself. See, all these judges, they point towards one man, Jesus. The problem with all these judges is that they're all faulty. They're all messed up. about our mistakes. Look at Gideon. Just wait till we get to Abimelech. He's not even going to judge. I wouldn't consider him. But they all point towards Jesus. Now, Jesus is the real deliverer. Jesus is the real judge. He's the one that could have came and could have took the credit. He's the one that could have came and he could have said, I am your king. You will bow down. You will worship me. Why? Because he's the only one who had the honor of doing that. He is the king. And yet, the Bible says in the book of Mark chapter 10, verse 45, that Jesus did not come to serve, to be served, but to serve. Another tongue to it. Why not SSA? Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve. The Son of God, God coming down, he sets the example for us. See, Gideon might have left a bad example. Gideon might have left a bad road to follow. But I plead and I hope that you would follow the example of Jesus instead. Where he comes and he serves. And he says, look, if you would give somebody a cup of water to someone in my name, I got a crown for you. I got so much more than what you can hold in your hands. But if you would trust me with that. Let's pray.